everyone, and welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are wrapping up the month of February, and the first thing I like to do at the end of every month is talk about the books that I read. So I have already done my mid-month reading update. You can find the link to that in the description below. Today we are talking about the remaining 10 books that I completed in February. So I read a total of 18 books in the month, and I'm really happy with that considering the month is quite short. I am filming this on the 28th of February, and I know we have one more day since it's a leap year, but I'm not going to get any more reading completed. I'm aware of my time restraints, so it's easy enough for me to just sit here and film this now. I'm really impressed with the amount of things that I got read and the overall average, because 4.3 is a really good average point for me. I'm quite critical, it's not a secret, and there were quite a few 5-star reads, so I'm not going to babble on about it too much because that's what the actual wrap-up is in my journal for. So today we're just going to talk about the books that I completed, and the first one that I completed was These Infinite Threads by 𝓤𝓬𝓪𝓿 Murphy. This is book 2 in this Woven Kingdom series, and this was a complete and utter surprise for me. I gave this 5 stars and I absolutely consumed it. I was so impressed with the second book in the series because I gave the first book 4 stars. There was a lot about the world that I really enjoyed, but I wasn't completely sold on some of the characters. But insert Cyrus, he made everything in this book. Like, I absolutely loved him so much. So this follows on from where we left off in This Woven Kingdom. Eliza is a djinn, and she in the first book was kind of in hiding, as well as all of her people are kind of like suppressed by humans. And in book 2 we go through her growth and discovery of what's actually happening in the world that's not just human politics. And also she is essentially kidnapped by Cyrus, and taken to another kingdom, and she thinks that he is the villain and that the whole world is going to suffer at his hand. But obviously there is a tragic backstory and more information about this character that she gets to find out while she spends time with him, and she is looking at a marriage of convenience. I mentioned just before that I really loved Cyrus, but I actually really enjoyed the storyline between Eliza and Cyrus so much. I thought it was really well paced and well done. I was obsessed with them. All the banter was perfect. All the revelations came at the right time. This was just so well done. Cameron, who is the other main male character that we get in this point of view, this is dual point of view. We've had his point of view in the first book, and in the second one he didn't really appeal to me. Obviously he was going through a lot from losing his grandfather and a lot of other things that happened in book 1, and yeah, he wasn't my favorite. I did happen to like the new additions to his sort of cadre, to sort of put it in perspective. Yeah, he's very much so an entitled prince and hasn't got a lot of understanding of other people, and it's really enlightening to see him interact with people of different classes. And I really like his friendship with Hazan. So I was, yeah, I wasn't really sold on him, and I'm glad that things have gone the way they have with Eliza and Cyrus. But I really enjoyed this book. I'm so excited for this world. Next up is Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. This is book 3 in the Well Met series. I've really enjoyed this series, and I gave this one a 4.5. I actually think that is the highest rating in the series for me. And this follows a single mother, April, and she lives in Willow Creek. She is the sister to the main character in the first book, and she has a teenage daughter that's about to go off to college. She brought her daughter to Willow Creek because she wanted to give her an upbringing that was solid and safe, and now that her daughter is basically heading off to university, she feels like she needs to leave Willow Creek, that it's now time for her to go back to having a life for herself, empty nest syndrome and all that. She decides to put her house up for sale and she's moving away. obviously she asks for help from Mitch, who is one of the main side characters that we've been meeting throughout the series. He's a bit of a flirt. He's known as a ladies' man, and he also is the school in this world's gym teacher. And he asks in return for some help around her house getting it ready to put up for sale if she would fake date him because he's got a family gathering coming up and he doesn't want to be seen as, just the gym teacher and just getting along in life. He wants to be seen like he's got a girlfriend and he's stable and stuff, because obviously his family's opinion is important. And they go together to this little um family gathering, and obviously it was supposed to be like a one-time thing, and then throughout the book both Mitch and April keep coming back together. Obviously it becomes romantic, and it's just really well written. I really enjoyed this. I liked the fact that we got to see an older character, because April, I think, is around 40, and she obviously is the older one in the couple, and she is very, I wouldn't say insecure is the right word, but like she obviously cares about the opinions of the small township. Everyone talks, and she doesn't want to be seen as anything detrimental and to her family or to herself and to also Mitch. But she also obviously finds herself really involved in this relationship, and I just thought it was really well paced with the ideas around, identity and what happens after your child leaves the nest and all that. And I could really relate to a lot of things with April. I also really enjoyed the romance in this one. It's very quick in a way that it's passionate and it establishes well. Obviously, the emotional connection takes a little bit longer, and I really liked that process. I think this is just really well done, and I cannot wait to finish this series. I've got one more book in the series to go, and I'm really looking forward to it. Remember how I said that I was really obsessed with these infinite threads? Well, that's why I have this book coming up now. I read all this Twisted Glory, which is book 3 in This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Murphy, pretty much right after I finished Well Matched, and I consumed this in an entire day. I was just so pumped for this world that I went out and used my credit on Audible to get the audiobook. I've purchased the physical copies. Like, I'm really obsessed with this series, and I never saw this coming because I absolutely didn't enjoy Shatter Me by this author, her other series. But it's actually crazy because I'm thinking about picking it back up, because apparently one of the characters in that world is very much so like Cyrus, and I've already mentioned him in this video, so I'm very much so stating that I absolutely love him. And this book, if it was just his point of view, which by the way we get, and it was so exciting to start the story out with his point of view, um, I would have given this 5 stars. However, I did have some issues with this one, mostly down to pacing. I did think this was a trilogy, but it looks like it's being extended for another book, because there's no way it could wrap up in the 3 books that we've had. And this story gets a little bit darker at points. We obviously get to see what Cyrus is working with and how things have gone on his point of view. And we get Cameron's point of view about how he comes to try and rescue Eliza. And then obviously Eliza is in between these 2 main characters alongside her duties as the lost princess of the Jinn, and then also trying to navigate friendships. And I feel like Eliza in this situation was very much so too passive. I would have liked to see her not pander to both sides. I don't even think she pandered to Cyrus enough, but like to just see her, stand up and take the side that she was thinking of. I really enjoy her with Cyrus, and I really enjoy their storyline and the levels that they'll go to for each other. Obviously, things in this book weren't as fast paced. We spend a lot of time doing just sort of like 1 or 2 things, which wasn't bad, but like as I mentioned, I wasn't as interested in some of the other storylines in this world, and I felt like a lot of time was spent with Cameron's storyline and his kind of black and white thinking. I also enjoyed the continuation with his like little found family that he's got going on here that he doesn't even realize that he's got. But yeah, there were just some parts that didn't hit as hard as book two, so I did bring the rating down to 4, but I'm exceptionally excited to see what happens next in this world, and I'm still shocked that I'm this obsessed with the world by this author because I never saw it coming. You ever have that problem where you read a book by an author and you absolutely enjoy it, and then you think, right, well, then I'm just going to love everything by this author, and you get completely burned? That's my experience with Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. So I actually didn't realize that this book came out in 2022 and is being re-released with this cover this year in 2024, and I applied for it as an ARC. I actually thought that the main character was someone else, and it wasn't. And my biggest gripe with the other book in this world was the main character's sister, and you've guessed it already, this book follows the sister. So this follows Lee, and she is working for a electric car company slash in like PR political realms, and she's working with the governor to try and pass like a green bill so they can get all the public transportation changed to electric in the city of Texas. Oh, well, sorry, in the state of Texas, but in this specific city, I think it's in Austin. Anyway, um, this follows her story of being obviously thrown into forced proximity with someone that she thought she'd never see again. 5 years previously, she and Ben had a relationship that ended with her cheating on him because she thought he was cheating on her and mistook it. And yeah, I'm not huge on cheating, and had I not been trigger happy and gone, I loved the other book in this world, I'm totally going to read this and not read the synopsis first, I wouldn't have clicked on this. I wouldn't have applied. So I did give this a rating higher than what I personally feel. I would have given this a 2-star rating otherwise, but I gave it 3 stars because one, it states in the synopsis it's all about cheating, or well, about the past of cheating, and two, I didn't read it, so it's on me. So I shouldn't like degrade the book because I didn't do the right thing when applying for this. That being said, taking away the cheating aspect of this book, there is a lot to unpack. Lee is really the most um, problematic main character I have ever read about. I did not enjoy her. I found her incredibly unlikable. And the sad part was that I actually ended up disliking the sister from the first book that I read in this world as well within this book because I just didn't like her interactions that happened because of Lee's behavior. I feel like a lot of people in this book were very big enablers of Lee's behavior, and no one sat her down and gave her consequences for her actions. And I don't understand how the author thinks that she could redeem Lee in any way. I just found myself morally perplexed by this book, and I don't understand how anyone could love a person like Lee, but I'm sure there is plenty of people out there that could, and I'm just coming at it from my point of view with my set of morals. This just wasn't a book for me. I just every time I tried to really like something about it, I was taken back to the reasons why I didn't. I've also mentioned before on this channel that I don't enjoy glorification of drug abuse and or drug usage and alcohol in any type of book. It's just my personal stance, and Lee's often answer was to both of those, so to use both of those. So, wasn't my cup of tea. I'm sure it will be for other people, but I really wish I hadn't applied for this. So the next book we're talking about is The Atlas of Us by Kristen Dwyer. This is a contemporary read, a YA contemporary, and it follows Atlas. She is suffering from the loss of her father, and because of the grief, she has made quite a few um, choices in her life that have sent her into a spiral, and as a last ditch effort, she is sent to go on a camp that spends time in the woods, essentially, I wouldn't say community service like work, but I guess it is, in a way that they're trying to clean out the forest and take care of it over a course of days. And their goal is to clear away danger from, like, perhaps fires taking out in this forest. Because in the past, the track that they are specifically on has been ravaged by wildfire. So, taking away anything that's going to be problematic for the future was the goal of these teenagers. And I didn't really quite understand the concept of it entirely, as in these teenagers all gather from different walks of life to find the same, like, goal to try and save the forest and work together as a team. But there's no real, like, adult figures on each team. That's just a group of teenagers being sent out sort of into the wild. Some of them are older and they've been there before, so they can be more trustworthy. And one of the rules is that you can't share your name. So Atlas goes by Maps while she's on this camp instead, and she is paired up with four other people: King, Sugar, Junior, and Books. And all four of them, along with Maps, uh, have to work together to hold together at this whole, like, camp thing. So they've got to work together as cleaning the forests and getting rid of the debris and stuff, setting up camp, feeding, fire, being safe with the fire and everything. And obviously they come from all these different walks of life. Some are rich, some aren't, some have been in the trouble with the law, some haven't been. And it's just really interesting seeing all these kids together. I did find myself struggling with this idea for quite some time. I didn't enjoy Maps very much until the latter portion of the book. However, the reason I gave this 4 stars mainly was because I got really emotional reading this, and it was the same with her first book. Some mistakes were made. I ended up crying at that book too. I don't know if it's because this one was related to the fact that she lost her dad, and I've never been quiet about the fact that I've also lost my father. So there was points where I could really relate to how Maps was feeling, and I really enjoyed, like, the found family aspect of it more than the romance. I absolutely loved the found family aspect of it, and I liked that after the camp there was the opportunity to continue to be friends. I did feel like the angst for the um bracket breakup kind of a little bit over the top. It would have been nice to see Atlas sort of communicate better with people. But given that she's a teenager and also really self-centric because of the pain that she's carrying around, I could kind of understand why she went that way. I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. I don't think it's something that everyone's going to enjoy. You're either going to hate this book or love it. But for what it was worth, I had a good time. I read it in one sitting, and yeah, I came to really enjoy these characters. So the next book is The Musician and the Monster by Megan Van Dyke. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I am on the author's street team, and she has written quite a few retellings, and I think this is one of her best yet. I think this world is really cleverly spun together, and I think a lot of people will enjoy this one, especially in indie author circles. I know that a lot of people enjoy reading indie fantasy romance these days, and I think this is one to look out for, especially if you like retellings. So this follows Ciara Dwin, and I hope I'm saying that right, and she has lost her mother, and she is exceptional at music. She especially loves to play the flute, and she is known for playing her music every night to send to the heavens for her mum to hear. And in this sort of realm, there's a magic system where some of the noblemen have the abilities to have extra gifts such as like increased speed, or they can shift into other creatures, or just there's a lot of things that they can have. It's kind of hard to explain it and like just on the spot, but essentially there is a Lord Protector in her city because there is a monster on the loose, and 𝓬𝓲𝓬𝓮 is asked to come to his manor house in exchange to receive some money to help her family out, because once her mother died, her father made some poor decisions financially and they are basically in their ruins. And sorry, they're basically in ruination or close to it, being on the street. And in exchange for being paid, she is to play music to him every night because it soothes him, and it helps him contain the monster. Obviously, this is a Beauty and the Beast story. He is the monster, and she comes to figure that out. There's also the love story, and whilst it does tickle a bit on my logical side of the brain over the concept of being paid and also falling in love and sort of that Stockholm syndrome aspect of the Beauty and the Beast storyline. I really did enjoy this, and I felt like the couple were really cute together, and I really liked the twists and turns. I also enjoyed a side character so much. His name's Malik, and I hope that he gets, or is it Malik? One of them. But I hope he gets his own book. And yeah, I just think this was really well done. I'm really happy for the author for seeing sort of, I wouldn't say that the other books were bad that she's written in this retelling, sort of reimagined retellings storyline that she's been doing, but I haven't really enjoyed them as much as the first book. So this is the fourth one she's done now, and I'm really happy to see this sort of resurgence into what really made me become a fan of this author. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she produces next. So the next book I'm talking about is The Endless War by Danielle L. Jensen. This is book 4 in the Bridge Kingdom series, and the second book from Kiris and Zara's point of view. At the end of The Inadequate Heir, we find the couple are very much a star-crossed lovers type deal, and Zara has been exiled to the most dangerous prison in the, I don't know, the kingdom, the lands, and then the continent, I guess. And then Kiris has obviously stepped up into King of 𝓤𝓚. I hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, so this book follows Kiris's attempts to get Zara out of, I think it's called Devil's Island from memory. I've read quite a few books since, so I'm trying to remember all the names. And obviously, they want to also end the war between his kingdom and hers, which is 𝓤𝓲𝓬, and it's been going on for a very long time, and I'm really happy with how this book went. In fact, um, I probably would have chosen this as my top read of the month had I not read House of Flame and Shadow, and it feels like I read that ages ago, so this one's more fresh in my mind and I'm more in love with it, but I know that I really enjoyed that book, so I've just left that at the top of my list. But this one was such a great contender for the first place, and if you haven't read this series, I highly recommend it. It is very well written. I've loved every moment in this world. The female characters aren't passive in any way, and whilst I do find Lara, who is the main female character for the first two books, a better, like, proactive and ruthless type of woman, there's some really great, beautiful moments with Zara and her growth in this book, especially. She goes from being essentially blind sided by her aunt to coming out with the forces and the belief behind her that she can become empress of her own kingdom. So I really, really enjoyed this one. It's my absolute favorite probably in this series, and I cannot wait to read book 5, which will follow another set of characters. And yeah, this world is just really evolving and such a good place to be in. I highly recommend this to fantasy lovers. I have three more books to talk about. The first one is All Laced Up by Erin Fletcher. This is a novella I picked up on Audible. I had a prompt for the readathon that I was taking part in that was to read a book that was kind of like reminded you of one of your favorites. And obviously, this was one that I picked up really quickly because I knew I wasn't going to get to Icebreaker, which was on my TBR, and that was to cover From Lukov with Love, as that's an ice figure skating uh, romance novel by Mariana Zapata. And so obviously this is also around being on the ice. This is a YA romance between a figure skater and a hockey player. And this was just, yeah, it was kind of cute. I did find that the main female character was kind of annoying. Really liked the main male character. Essentially, he is kind of a big deal on the ice for his um, region, I guess. I don't know what the correct term would be. And she finds him annoying because they have to teach a class of kids together to save the rink that they both have spent a lot of time and owe a lot to. And she goes on to like some sort of sports website and in a fit of rage because he was kind of aloof and acting like he was a celebrity on the first day. She decides to attack his or critique his work on the ice, and from that moment, she spends her time um, between being this person that talks to him online and then getting to know him in person. Gosh, what are even their names? She is Leah, that's right, and his name is Pierce. And essentially, this is just a really cute romance of getting to know people and actually taking the time to shed the miscommunication between you. I thought it was cute. I read it really quickly because it's a very small book and it was an Audible exclusive, so I could read it for free and it filled the prompt. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. So I was added to a buddy read very last minute for Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I wasn't expecting to love this as much as I did. This has become my favourite Ali Hazelwood book. This is a paranormal romance, which is her first time stepping away from that STEM romance that she's known for. And I'm really grateful for the change. I know that I knew it was going to be quite formulaic, as in it was going to follow similar formulas that she's used in her other romances, but I really enjoyed this one. So this follows Misery. She is a vampire, and in this world we have vampires, werewolves, and humans, and for most of her life she was used as a piece of collateral. Her father is the head of the vampire council, and she was given over to the humans in good faith for an alliance. And obviously she's now free from that and trying to live her life, but because she grew up with humans and around humans, she didn't really know enough about vampires. So when she went back to the vampire coven, she just wasn't really welcomed. So she went back to the humans and has been there ever since. And then her father calls upon her to marry the werewolf alpha, or they're called Were in this, and his name is Lo. And this follows Misery's life as the wife of an alpha of the werewolves and how she's trying to find her best friend who has gone missing just before she got married. And she found there was some sort of connection between him and the missing friendship. So she thinks that he's got something to do with her disappearance. And at first, it's very much so different species and animosity towards each other that leads to becoming like allies to becoming lovers. And I really, really enjoyed this. Misery is such a refreshing character for Ali Hazelwood. I do have an exhausted opinion of how Ali has been writing her giant hulking males and her petite females, and so I found it really refreshing, even though I guess you could say that Misery was quite small compared to Lo, that it's quite often mentioned that she's tall, that she's close to 6 foot, that she is, it was very different from what we've read from this author in appearance aspects, and I really enjoyed just getting to follow her and her slowly becoming part of something, because she's been on the outskirts of everything her entire life, aside from her friendship with the best friend. She's never really had anything that's her own, and it was really rewarding to see that come together and see her blossom into caring about people in this book. I also really like Lo. He was a fantastic male main character, and I don't tend to hate on Ellie's main male characters that often, except for the parts where it comes to the intimacy and he's massive. Um, but really, really liked this. There is a warning to go with this. This is obviously a shifter romance with him being a werewolf. He has a knot. This is not brand new information. You can find out about this everywhere. And like the even the acknowledgement has the word "not" in it, so you know what you're going in for. But I thought that it was really well done, the intimacy and the romance aspect of this book, and I liked it enough that I am very eager for her to continue this world. She has left the ending open enough to do that, and I really do hope that she returns to this style, because I think this was really exceptionally well done for her. The last book I'm going to talk about today is A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. This was another book that could have been the top book for February because it was so good. I gave this 5 stars. This is the second book in the Elements of Cadence series. This follows 4 different main characters and their relationship with the Isle of Cadence. So this Isle of Cadence has been split between 2 clans for the longest time. There's lore around it. It's beautifully written, and essentially one side has magic and enchantment and no real food supply. They're always starving or like rationing things, and they have much a bigger, brutal way of seeing the world. And then on the other side, which is where we started and where we learned about all 4 characters, is a clan that has a lot more connection to the earth and the people and supporting their clan and being all a part of it. And they don't have any enchantment, so if they do weave that kind of magic into the world, they suffer greatly. But they do have food and storage and stuff like that. So there's always been wars between them, and the clan line is heavily guarded. Obviously, at the end of the first book, that changes with one of the characters moving over into that clan. I won't give away why. And you spend most of this book trying to find a way to balance both clans and the Isle and save it from a blight that is taking over the entire Isle. There's also another magic system with one of the characters being a bard, and music is really important to the land. And on the side that we followed first, I can't remember if it's the west or the east, but that side is very music focused, and then the other side it's banned. Music is banned because it's done damage and stuff. And obviously music is important to this story and how it connects the entire world together in the end. Really, really like this. I love how in depth it is, how complex the magic system can be, how beautifully woven the story is. It feels very like folklore, and it's just so well written. It's so empowering to read, very like poetic and musical, and just, yeah, I could talk about this book forever, but I won't. And I highly recommend this series if you've liked Rebecca Ross and her writing with Divine Rivals. I just think she's a talented author, and I know she's really big at the moment because of Divine Rivals, but I think that this series has just as much near it, if not more, and her characters are so beautifully woven into this world. They're so effortless. Like, I just love everything about it, so highly recommend. And like I said, this was a huge contender for the top spot, but I just, yeah, didn't quite make it there above House of Flame and Shadow. Thank you so much for spending time with me today as I've gone through all 10 books on this reading update. I am very excited to be starting March reads very, very soon, and I won't spend any more time talking. So until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone!